Well, good day to you. It is September the 12th, and I hope wherever you are doing really well. My name is Gary Willing. I want to welcome you to Search for Signs, and just take a few seconds to let you know that if you want to know more about who and what Maitreya is, about his priorities, if you want to see if there's any truth to this information after listening to a video or two, the best thing to do is to read more about him. I've included links in the description portion of these videos that take you to websites that talk about this information in some way. I would recommend the Share International site first if you don't know anything about this. I think you can probably get a sense of whether there's some truth to this for yourself or not better by that website than the other ones, but the other ones talk about this in some way. So they're all there for you. They're all free, and whenever you want to look into it, so hopefully you'll take advantage of it at some point and do that. If you want to come back, you want to join the discussion, of course, you can post comments. You can post your questions in the comment section. You can email me at searchforsigns@mail.com. And I want to thank Tara321 and at Carol Palmer 1079 for the kind words. Very much. Thank you so much. Now, I did get a couple questions that came my way, and I tried to answer it in a video that I put up a few days ago. And what happened was I didn't delete off the audio that I had done before. So there was two audios going at the same time, and it makes it sound like this insane echo. So whoever, I can't remember who was the one that notified me to let me know that the audio was off, but I really do appreciate it. You're very kind for doing that. So oftentimes, in fact, most of the time, I just record the video and throw it up on YouTube and walk away. So I don't really think much of it after that. And when somebody tells me, hey, you know, your audio is like all screwed up. Well, anyway, I appreciate you helping me out. Now, let's see. At Gaming with Cat Queen asked a question, and this is one that I tried to answer in the last video. Is Maitreya a spiritual entity, like an angel, who can transform into anything, or what? Now, technically, the answer is yes. But what I want to explain is there's more to it than that, because a lot of times I think, and maybe this is just the way that the prejudice that I have when somebody asks that question, that they're thinking that Maitreya is some kind of ethereal kind of spiritual entity that's kind of formless, timeless, which in essence he is, but in essence we all are. But there is a form and function to who, what, and what Maitreya is, and he is in the physical plane. But every one of these masters can manifest just a little bit of their energy into a thought form of a person. So I'm going to get more into that in just a second. But who and what Maitreya is, if you don't know, Maitreya was the first of our humanity to become a master. Every one of us eventually will become a master, just like all these other masters. It will become more real to us when we see them and see how wise they are, how much love they exude, how they love even those people who hate them, how they love people who love them and try to give them devotion, even though they don't want any devotion. And the best sense that I've gotten about how these masters think and how they're going to be teaching us is when I read Benjamin Creme's Masters articles, because that's really, in essence, how they'll be teaching humanity. Very simple, very wise, but yet you can kind of contemplate and ponder on it and think about it and really learn, and if you apply it, and you'll grow in that way. But it's very simple, the way that they speak. And they don't use a lot of words when they don't have to, unlike myself. But when we see these masters, we'll see perfect humanity in them. And then what they're going to tell us is they're nothing special. They are the hope for humanity because they are us in potential. They are here to show us the way, but they're also here to be examples of what it means to be our highest self, perfectly, moment to moment. Now, Maitreya was the first of our humanity to achieve and become a master. Others have done it since. Like I said, eventually all of us will become masters. Maitreya has taken it a step further, though, and gone further on the path than most of these masters because he has chosen to be a Christ, which is not what every master chooses to do for themselves and the path that they would typically take. It's unbelievably rare all throughout cosmos to be a planetary Christ. We have two on this planet, the Buddha and Maitreya. But anyway, Maitreya literally embodies the love nature of God. He doesn't simply channel it like these other masters do. These other masters manifests that divinity perfectly, Maitreya literally embodies it. So we don't really understand what that means. I know myself, I don't understand truly what that means. But when we see Maitreya, we will see the Lord of Love, is what we will see. And now, he is in physical form. He isn't a physical person. He had, up until, as far as I know, been living in the Asian community of London. And that's predominantly a Muslim area of town. So they saw him more and more, because as they got to know him, they saw him more and more and were suspecting him to be the Imam Mahdi. Now, but if you were to see him in London, or when he's out known for who he is and we see him, we'll be able to shake his hand, give him a hug, and he'll be just as physical as you or I. But yet there's more to him than that, just as there's more to us than that, really, to be honest. But he can, as well as these other masters, can manifest thought forms of a person. Benjamin Creme called them familiars, where Maitreya could be in London and perform all sorts of functions all around the world that we wouldn't even know that he was doing when he was doing it if we were in his presence physically, right? He could be standing in front of somebody or being interviewed on TV or giving a lecture, in front of thousands of people like he'll be doing in the future or whatever. And all the while he's doing a million other things. One of which is creating manifestations of himself that look like however they look. They can be a man, they can be a woman, they can be young, old, black, white, Chinese, Asian, Occidental, whatever. And for a time, that thought form exists, and he can send a tiny little fraction of his energy to be able to speak to that person wherever they are. So the times that I saw Maitreya and the times that I've talked about Maitreya, that's not exactly how Maitreya looks. It's because he looked like, there's times that he appeared as a woman, as a man, but I recognized him from his energy. I recognized him from the things that he said. And then the things that he said that I applied to my life have changed my life for the better. So I would say kind of what Jesus said, a tree is known by its fruit, that I applied what he says, it helped me out, change my life, for the better. I see life differently. I relate to other people differently since meeting Maitreya in this way. But I have not physically seen him as so many people have in London. So I'll give you an example. It's a funny story that Ben mentioned that I find very humorous, but also very insightful about Maitreya. There was a guy that came to Ben's lecture, and after his lecture, he approached Ben and said he had seen Maitreya giving a talk in London. So he saw him physically, how he is in London. And he said you didn't even have to try to contemplate or think what he was saying or try to remember what he was saying. You just could remember it. And he was speaking so simply, he said it was like you didn't even have to listen and understand what he was saying. His love penetrated your heart. He said it was like punching you in the chest. It was so strong. And then he looked at Ben and he goes, this is the funny part. He looked at Ben and he goes, now you, sir, you talk way too much. And Ben used to always laugh about that. So I feel it's okay to mention it. But he apparently, Maitreya is a man of few words and never repeats himself and speaks very simply and those kind of things. But the thing that I've wondered, because I've seen Maitreya many times in different familiars and how those familiars have been so uplifting and changed my life in such a radical way, that I wonder if that's just a fraction of the Lord of Love's energy, giving me a blessing at that time or a healing or even a teaching at that time. What's it going to be like when we all see him face to face for who he is, and as he is? It's got to be intense. So it will stimulate humanity in a way that we can't possibly imagine. It will galvanize humanity in a way that we can't possibly imagine. We are unfortunately seeing what one might consider negative effects of Maitreya entering the world, the love nature stimulating all of humanity. It's stimulating us, and it is necessary, but it's creating these huge divisions in all walks of life, from politics to economics to science to religion. Everything is even genders are being radically divided. And it's all because of the love nature of Maitreya, stimulating the hearts and minds of humanity. bringing to the surface all the corruption that's always been there. But we have to see it and deal with it, and deal with the pain and the agony of corruption, not only in our institutions, but in our world leaders, but also within ourselves. And this is what we're seeing. But we're also seeing at the same time, if you look, the stimulation of the hearts and minds of millions of people marching for peace, marching against war, marching for the environment and those kind of things, marching for justice and those kind of things. More and more and more on a yearly basis, we're seeing this awakening of humanity. So it's a direct result of the Lord of Love speaking directly to humanity through our media. Now, the thing of it is we don't know who he is. We haven't recognized him. I know somebody who knows somebody, I hate to say it like that, who has actually seen him on TV. I have not personally recognized Maitreya, but I'm not looking for him. I've seen him in my own life. I have no doubt that he's real. I have no doubt that he's here, partly because of the extraordinary nature of some of the experiences that I've had with Maitreya. And if you want to listen to him, there's a playlist that I have, but also because of the teachings that he's given me when I've seen him and how it's changed my life. And I can't wait, and the excitement for me is I can't wait for everybody to experience his wisdom, to experience his teachings, and start to apply some of his teachings. I can't wait for nations around the world to take to heart his priority, the principle of sharing, and how that will bring about justice and bring about peace and those kind of things. But anyway, but he is, like I said, he's very physical, he's very real, but yes, he is also a spiritual entity that can change how he looks. And all these masters too can think they're, a whole new wardrobe. They can create a long beard, short beard, cut their hair. I mean, they can do everything all by thought. And eventually they'll teach all of us to do all the same way. They don't have to eat, like we eat. They'll eat in social situations, but that's it. They don't have to eat to stay alive. They can live, without eating or anything, really. But it's going to be a quite extraordinary revelation and awakening when we see these masters for who they are and start to learn from them and ask them questions. Med's master said it will be like the floodgates will open up in humanity, and how all of humanity will be asking him so many questions that, it'll go on for years and years and years. The interest and the enthusiasm for peace, the enthusiasm for oneness, the enthusiasm to change our structures, those kind of things. We're headed for a really extraordinary time. All evidence to the contrary. But thank you very much for the question. I appreciate it. Now, Reality Regenerator sent me a comment, and I really do appreciate you sending me this comment. And you said, I think you would find the video titled The True Encounter That Terrified Jimi Hendrix very interesting. And I listened to something that I think maybe is it. And it was kind of long, so I stopped it. I didn't listen to it all the way through. So forgive me if I got the whole premise of it incorrect. But, a lot of people have seen extraterrestrials, space brothers. A lot of people have seen them in their own way. I wonder, because Jimi Hendrix and a lot of those guys were heavy into drugs. But the thing that I wanted to mention with this, two things. One, actually three things, excuse me. The Space Brothers look like us. They look like humanity, according to George Adamski and Benjamin Creme, who this has more of the ring of truth than everybody else's view of who and what they call them aliens are and how they look. But George Adamski and even Ben met them in restaurants, met them on the street, and nobody was the wiser. And there are people who are from other planets working and living on this planet, helping humanity in their own way, that know who they are. They know for a fact they're from this planet or that planet and why they're here, those kind of things. There's also other people who are from other planets who incarnate here. And some historical figures that were not from this planet, but fell here, as they say, and incarnated here. Abraham Lincoln, William Shakespeare, Leonardo da Vinci are three that come to mind. But there were others but whether they knew they were from another planet or not, I don't know. But according to Ben's master, they were from different planets in our solar system. But the other thing I wanted to say too is how Jimi Hendrix and these others in the van who saw whatever they saw, they might have seen what they saw, because our perception is our reality. And this goes for everything. This goes for me. I'm just as much a slave to my perceptions as everybody else, right? And our perceptions aren't always right. In fact, the way we are now in this world, in the way who we are and how we, live and all that kind of things, especially if we do a lot of drugs like they did, we see life and it seems very real to us, but it's not what we're really seeing. It's all illusion. So was that really how that person looked, or was that their mind making it out to be that? There are people who I've know in my life who I've worked with who swore up and down that I said something and I didn't even open my mouth. And I wonder sometimes for myself if I have that same kind of thing where I think for sure somebody said this, but did they really say it, or did it really look that way? And how many times have I looked to the right on a street and it looks totally clear, and then I pull out and there's a car right there. I didn't even see the car. And it's all perception. Our lives are perception. And these masters, when they're teaching humanity, will be teaching us how to see life as it really is. The main problem that causes illusion, or actually the root cause of illusion, is the idea and the belief and the perception that you're separate from everybody else, which in reality we're not. We're all one. When we see our lives separately, we see life with illusion. When we see life as one, and with unity and love and those kind of things, we stop seeing life through the eyes of illusion. These masters only see unity. They don't see any separation between them and anybody else. Where we see Maitreya as Maitreya, us as us, so-and-so is so-and-so, and on and on and on. But that was the other thing that I thought about this, is maybe they did see it from their own perspective, but it wasn't true. And there are people who claim to have been abducted by, as they call, aliens, have very elaborate, very colorful stories to tell about it, and none of them are true. So it's for you to decide for yourself if I'm telling you the truth. You know what I'm saying? But the other thing is, and this is the one thing I really wanted to talk to you about, it is how many videos there are. I would say the vast majority of videos about UFOs are all fear-based. All fear-based. And the vast majority of videos that I watch on pretty much anything is fear-based, because that's how we're living our lives right now. Fear comes from the belief that we are separate. That is an illusion. But the one thing I wanted to say before I end this whole talk about, perception and illusion and fear and is Ben's master said fear and joy are equally infectious. Equally infectious. They infect other people. And when you spread fear, whether you realize it or not, it goes out into the cosmos and does all this damage and all this harm, and it comes right back to you, and you have to deal with all the damage and the harm that you've caused by spreading fear. Not you personally, but anybody. This is anybody. Anytime we all spread fear, this is what happens. On the flip side of that coin, if we spread joy and hope, it goes out into the world, does a lot of good, heals people, uplifts people, and comes right back to us in what we put out. What we sow, so shall we reap. What we put out, we get back. But we have that choice in our hands. But it's so, fear is so prevalent today in everything that we hear in our media, on YouTube, and websites with our friends and coworkers, because there's so much uncertainty about the future. But it's so real to people that draws them in more than a video about UFOs being good and useful and helpful. Because if it wasn't for these space brothers cleaning up our environment, we would be pretty much dead right now. That's how bad we are polluting the environment. And anytime somebody in the news, especially on the right, or a very, corporate-driven type of speaker, says, well, they keep saying that, we were going to destroy ourselves because of the pollution and the climate change and blah, 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 blah. And yet we're still here and everything's fine. Well, the only reason why we're still here and everything's fine is because we're getting help from from space brothers. That's it. If it wasn't for that, it would be just as bad as they're saying. And God knows what kind of karma we're giving, because remember, we're damaging the environment. It's going to come back to us. how long are they going to be able to do that before they have to step aside and say, nope, we're going to have to let you deal with the repercussions of what you're really doing in full. But when you spread hope, you get hope back. When you spread fear, you get fear and a lot of harm coming back to you. But how real it is for people to, it's maddening for me to be inundated and bombarded with all this fear on all sides, and everything that I listen to pretty much comes from a state of fear. Fear of the right, fear of the left, fear of economic uncertainty, fear of the environment, I mean, it's everywhere, And then Benjamin Creme came on the scene and said, no, it's not the end times. This is the beginning. There's hope out there, hope in the miracles that are going on, right? And miracles not only for just one group, but for everybody. And if you go to the Share International site or you go to some other sites, you can see images of these miracles that have been happening for decades and giving and uplifting people and giving them hope in that way, The other thing is you can see all these images of UFOs that have been going on for decades. A lot of times they do uplift, they're uplifting to people. Other times they're scared when they see it or whatever. But in the end, no UFO has attacked us yet. You know what I'm saying? So if they haven't attacked us by now, what's keeping them from doing it? What's keeping them from doing it is they have no intention of harming us or hurting us. That's not their purpose. It's all paranoia. It's all our own fear that's causing us to think that. But all the discussions about UFOs is all fear. Fear-based, 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 fear. You can't get away from it, But I bet you if I put up a video about the end times because of UFOs and all this stuff, it would get 10 times more views than if I put up a video talking about UFOs helping us through this crisis point and, and all this stuff. So, just the times we live in, I guess. But anyway, I really do appreciate your comment. I appreciate your questions. I love you guys. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to putting out videos in the very near future. Have a wonderful day. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.